Good morning guys, welcome to this week's episode. A little bit more of a technical one. We've got a bit of kit we want to install on the boat here. It's a Smart System Ultrasonic Antifoul kit. So we're going to be installing this, go into a bit more details a little bit later on, but that's today's mission, is it to install this.
So guys, you may also notice behind me, the view is slightly different. It's because we're out on the mooring. So we'll show you a little bit of that as well. Hi, we are Erica and Davey, an adventurous, slightly crazy couple who has taken on the challenge of restoring a hurricane-damaged catamaran. It isn't easy, but we are seeing progress from all our hard work. Subscribe to our channel to follow our journey. You must tell yourself, no matter how hard it is or how hard it gets, I'm going to make it. So we were on the floating dock for a couple of weeks while we were waiting for the other catamaran that was on our mooring to move locations. So this morning at about 7:30, the other catamaran moved, so we were able to move in before the winds picked up. If you remember that Bristol Channel Cutter 28-footer that was for sale, it's still for sale. So if you are interested in that, give us a shout. We once again had our friend Patrick follow along in his dinghy just to give us a bit of a hand, just in case we lost an engine, but we had no issues. So once we were on the mooring, we had our local friend Domingo swim down just to inspect the mooring for us. It is 2 barrels that are buried into the mud with lots of strong chain coming up. So we do feel very secure where we are here on the mooring.
Alright, so before I start finding places for all these different parts, I want to show you what the different parts are. So this is what they call the control box, or the generator, as it says in the instructions itself. So this is the controllers, it's power in and then power out for the 2 sensors. What we're doing at the moment is we're doing a bit of an experiment just on the one hull. If we like it, we're going to get the full system and put it on both hulls, but for maybe the first 6 months or so, we're just going to be doing testing and also underwater videoing to show the difference between the 2 hulls being a catamaran.
So I'm going to cut in just here. You can see what both sides of the hulls look like right now.
Alright, so the parts that are supplied, as I said, the generator, i.e. the control box, a power cable, 4 meters long, and then 2 different sensors. Well, they're actually both identical sensors, but we've got 2 of them. Each comes with an 8-meter cable, a base which has to be glued down to the hull. This is the important bit. I've just read the instructions. So you have to make sure the hull is super clean. Clean it also with alcohol wipes or acetone, and then we glue it down with an epoxy glue, being careful not to get any bubbles inside the glue itself. And once we've stuck that down, that has to dry for at least an hour before you can then install this sensor. And in between the base and the sensor itself, you have to put a bit of this contact grease. So then you screw that down, connect your cable. This cable then runs through the boat to the chosen position of the generator box. I've pretty much decided the generator box is actually going to go next to the fuse box on the port side.
Yeah, so we've decided to put this onto the port side. So we'll be able to compare both of the hulls. That's why Smart System sent it out to us, so that we can show the comparison of the 2 sides of the catamaran.
And also, apparently, sometimes you can hear a small clicking from these sensors. So instead of putting it on our side of the boat where we sleep, we're going to test it. We can sleep a couple of nights on the other side one day and make sure it doesn't interfere with actual sleeping. So that way we can tell you if we recommend it for a liveaboard boat or if it's just a boat maybe used for weekend cruising. But anyway, we'll get into that. Nice arm shot there as I was talking right away.
What's that?
So that's explained the part, so now I can install the part. Trying to decide where to put it. Can you pass me the generator box? Well, that's not going to work, is it? I was hoping it would go above there. Maybe we'll just go on the wall.
Yeah.
That works.
Well, is that like a little vent on the side?
This one is a little fan vent.
Yeah, so
keep it cool inside.
keeps it cool inside.
Yeah, so we can pop that up there. And then I've got my power source here.
Yeah.
And then we'll drop down the back. And then we'll be able to get to one sensor under the floor here, going by the instructions what they've sent us. And another one we'll have to take the wall off and run the cable.
Well, the wall's already off, isn't it?
No, we put it back on. But anyway, this one's a lot easier than on our side anyway. So we'll take that one off and we'll run a cable for the other sensor, which I'm going to put in the engine room. Okie doke, let's get some tools.
So one of the other jobs that I want to get done this week is organising this side of the boat. We still haven't managed to do that. And there's crap everywhere.
This is for the battery connections. So they come. The cable comes through here, connects. You got your plus and your minus. Goes direct to the battery. I'm going direct from the fuse board. And then you've also got here 2 connections in, one for each sensor, because this is the light 2 option. So there's one for each of those. These ones don't have a positive negative. It doesn't matter which way around the polarity goes. So
Okay.
That should be a pretty easy installation, really. It's just a case. I think the biggest part is to glue these to the hull.
Yep.
After unrouting that one cable to get to the engine room, which is always a pain, as everybody knows, trying to do this sort of work on a boat. Good morning, guys. Welcome back. So yesterday I told you I was going to install this thing straight away, but then after going down into the port hull, having a look around to decide exactly my positioning and everything for the sensors, or the transducer, sorry, what I decided, or Erica and I both decided, it's such a mess in that hull, we decided to spend the day actually tidying up, getting rid of a load of trash, going through all the tools, sorting out the equipment, organising storage boxes, that sort of stuff. So that's how we spent the day yesterday. So now we've got back to it this morning. So I want to take you downstairs, show you where I'm at so far. I've just literally got going. So I've also been sat down reading through the instructions. It's really cool with the instructions. They actually give you a diagram of the boat that you say you're fitting it on. So they came back with a diagram of a fontaine. We'll pop that in the video for you, giving you rough positions where to put them. So the position that they gave me basically was exactly where that bulkhead is. But reading the instructions, it says you need to be 20 centimeters away from any solid structure, i.e. bulkheads. So I've got 2 options here. I can either go with this cross, 20 centimeters away from the bulkhead, 20 away from the keel, or I can go on the other side. Now, I've actually put the crosses there because I measured them out so I could hold the camera. But with the base plate, I've noticed with this one, it's not exactly the flattest area on the boat, and you want to get a good seal with no air bubbles. Whereas this one here is a nice good fit for it. So I think this is the one we're going to go for. It'll be slightly more difficult to do the little sanding and the gluing, but I also wanted to check with the transducer that I've got enough room to put it on, take it off. So that's going to work there. So next stage is to clean up this area, a little bit of sanding, and then mix up the epoxy, get this on. This has to dry for at least 1 hour before you can continue. So I think if I get this base on, then if I move to the engine room to put the other one on, as they described in the instructions, then we can come back to the wiring afterwards. That's better. Alright guys, so after getting a torch down here for a bit better light, I could see that there was still a little bit of paint. It's difficult for you to see now, but I can see here I've removed the paint, and it does say in the instructions that you want to remove the paint from the area. You actually want to go straight into the fiberglass. So I know I cleaned it already once. I've come back again just to make sure it's perfect. Also, they say that it has to be as flat as possible. You can't have any air gaps under the transducer when it's attached to the hull. So if you need to move over by a tiny bit of location, then that's actually your best option. Alright, so let's give this area a real good wipe over and and we'll let that dry for a few minutes before coming back to prepare to install the transducer base. Alright, so now the area has been cleaned, there's no dust, it's free from grease. I've used an alcohol wipe to go over it, so I'm going to double check my positioning again. Where was I? There's a flat spot here, there it is. There's my flat spot. So I'm going to mark that just so that I put it back in the right place, and also put all my epoxy in the right place. God, that's a bit of an awkward position to be working in. Right, so that's where we want to be. So the next step is to mix up the epoxy, transparent epoxy that they sent with us. So it's 50-50 mix. So I'm going to mix up about half of this batch because we've got two transducers to install. Just going to mix that up on a piece of cardboard now quickly, and then I'll spread it out and we'll put the camera back on. Alright, so that's nicely mixed out, and following the instructions it does say to mix it nice and gently because you don't want to add any air bubbles to the epoxy. Alright guys, so that's the first one installed. I've put the tape on there. This is quite runny epoxy. I don't want it sliding out of place. So yeah, now we need to leave this one for at least 1 hour, but I've got the other one to go and install. So now I've shown you this one, I'm just going to go and install the other one on my own, and we'll come back to the procedure once the base plates are in the right spot. So while I've taken on the mission of doing the anti-fouling for us, there's not a lot of room down in the bilges, so Eric has sent me down there. Eric has taken on the job of installing the new dog netting that we've got to keep Foxy nice and safe.
So we've come up with a new system. We have a line that runs across from stanchion to stanchion along the bottom, so that we're able to pull it tight. The only issue I'm going to have is because you can see the boat kind of does like a weird thing here. We don't have a line going this way yet, so I won't be able to.
Or something at the bottom.
Have to add something for this section here. But besides that, you can see up at the front, it looks beautiful and it actually serves a purpose. The past few days when it's just been hanging, Fox is really funny. She'll just stick her head underneath. Under it. She'll be like, ah. So it kind of defeats the purpose, but once it's going up, it's looking much more uniform, and it's looking really nice.
Erica's got so much more patience than me, so I'm going to take you for a little walk and show you what she's done so far.
I know cable ties aren't the best option, but
well, cable ties are actually working better than anything else we tried. But Erica's got the patience to sit there and get the distances, so it actually looks good. She's got the front end looking great as well, so this job's really coming along. We can't put it on the other side yet because I've still got one rub rail to put on that we didn't show you, but we'll get that done in the next couple of days so Erica can crack on with the other side. What do you reckon, Fox? It's going to keep you safe? Okay guys, so I've got both the bases for the transducers installed now. I'll show you a picture of the, I'll take the video camera in there if I can get it in. Very hard. Behind the engine, it was a very difficult place to install it. I couldn't really fit a camera in there. But anyway, I've got that one in now, and while I wait for the glue to dry the epoxy, I thought I'd come back and install the, they call it the generator. It's basically the control box. So originally my plan was to put it here, which is nice and close to the fuse box. But then I've just realized there's a back panel that goes along here, so I've tried holding it up and I can't get the panel in and out when this is installed. So I've decided to move it up a level, so it's still nice and close to the fuse box, and I suppose it'll be a little bit more out of the way up there as well. So let's screw this one to the wall, and then after that we'll start running some wiring. By that time the glue should be dry and we can finish the installation.
Alright babe.
Right, 1 second, I'll set it up.
Oh, you put it up there?
Yeah. I couldn't get it down here. As I said, I've put the junction box up here. This is a panel that we never need to take off, and it is just about wiggle enough. I can wiggle it enough to get it out this one, so it's better here. I also didn't want to hide this box away because it has the on-off switch on the bottom, so if there is a problem or whatever else, we can just come here and easily reach to it to turn it off. We've got the fuse box here, so what I'm going to do is open up the fuse box. It's only got a couple of light screws in it at the moment, and then there's one here. So what I need
Can you quite reach that?
Aye. No short jokes, guys. There is a little step here for me so I can get into bed as well. Alright guys, so what we've got to do is run a power cable from here. So this is my positive and negative that go directly to my battery, well, through the shunt, so we'll actually be able to measure the amps that are being used as well. So that's a very simple connection on here. I've got to run that cable up and into this box, so I'm going to just drill a very small hole here and come back up here for the power. And then I've got two more cables that have got to be run. One, as you remember, Fox!
We must have visitors.
Also what we got the two other cables. So as you remember, I've got the one transducer under in the bilge just under here. So I'm going to follow through. We've got the air conditioning unit and that's got power cables that go through. So I'm going to follow the same route to get to that transducer. The one in the engine room, which of course is the pain, that was the one I didn't film because it was very difficult to get a camera in there. This one here, I'm going to have to remove some paneling from the wall, trace along to get to the back of the batteries. Going to be a bit of wiggling and jiggling. I'm going to need some help from Erica there to actually get it through, to get through to the transducer on that side. Also in the instructions it says that you don't want to leave any of this cable coiled up, and 8 meters is a lot more than we need in both directions. But we can simply cut to shorten them so that there's no coil in the cable. It's very clear in the instructions about that. So I think what we'll do is chuck a time lapse on and start running some cabling.
Woohoo!
Alright, so I've managed to get the cables all the way through from the cabin here, around the wall, and then into the engine bay. All I've got to do now, I couldn't get them through this section here with the end of the connection end that goes on the transducer. So I had to do this way, and then I'm going to have to feed backwards to come back into this side. You'll notice there's two cables here. Now this isn't both for today's installation. So the grey one is going to the transducer, but this just standard piece of cabling basically. If you remember back, we do have the underwater lights as well. So I thought, while I've got all this paneling off, I should actually run that cable because I don't want to have to come through this whole palaver again to get a cable through. So we'll run the cable. I'm not going to install the lights today, but at least we've got a cable in place ready for that installation. We're gonna connect up the transducers. So first things first, I need to remove this sticky tape that was holding it in place. I've already just done this in the engine room. As I said before, not the world's easiest place to get to in there, especially not for filming. So the procedure for putting these on is an alcohol wipe. You give it a quick clean. We'll just pause there for a second. We'll cut back to you in a few minutes. Okay, so we waited a few minutes for the alcohol just to, what do you call it, evaporate. Then what we get, we've got this contact sort of grease that comes with the kit. And you're supposed to put this on the surface here. Put it out nice and evenly.
So you put it on the top and the bottom?
Yeah, I put it on the top and the bottom just lightly. So that's the procedure there, you put it on like that. Then we screw the transducer in place. Simply screws onto that base. You won't be able to see it on the camera, but it simply screws onto that base that I showed you gluing in earlier on, or epoxying in. Screw it all the way down till it gets hard. Tighten it up nicely.
Cool.
Remember, it's just hand tight. The procedure in the instructions says to come back to it after 10 minutes and just give it another quick tighten up. So, but what we'll do, because I want to connect up all the electrics here, I'm just going to connect the cabling up and we can come back just before we actually power it up, and we'll just nip them up one more time. So again, get this cable. Which way round does it go?
What was that?
Which way round does it go? That's the other way. It's got a little notch in it, so you can't get it the wrong way around. But to be honest, there is no right and wrong way round, because as it says in the instructions, when we connect up in the control box up there,
Do you twist it on?
It screws on. He pushes in and then screw locks.
Oh, yeah.
And it's got a little O-ring in there as well to stop any water intrusion.
But it doesn't have...
It doesn't have a positive or a negative. So reading the instructions, it doesn't matter. Obviously, let me just put the floorboard back in for a minute so I've got something to stand. So when we're connecting it up here, there's just basically two black cables and it doesn't matter which one's which. But it's just the positive negative on the power connection. So I'm going to quickly wire up this. It's very simple. It's just putting those through, connecting to the blocks, and the same with the power. Then we'll connect up down here. So I'll just bang that out quickly and then we'll do a test and see if it works.
Alright guys, so it's up and running. It's
installed, it's done. All that's left to do is tidy up. I've got to screw the walls back together, but I think we're going to take Foxy for a walk on the beach first.
Yeah.
So we'll let you know how it goes. We can't give you any answers, guys. It's not like it just went down underwater and scrubbed the hull for us. This is a process that's going to take many months to see any difference. Well, in this harbour, maybe just a few weeks. But anyway, we'll get back to you on that. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. See you next week.
Cheers.